Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Marut. I'm the marketing manager here at Revenova. Thank you for joining today's webinar. With me today is Jason Beinke from CGB Agforce Transport Services and Jeannotte from Falvey Insurance Group. Thank you both for doing this today. Jason and Jay, you want to introduce yourselves real quick? Jason, we'll start with you.
Jason, like you said, Jason Beinke with Agforce. Been in the business forever, since 1999, basically. I tell people I've been slinging freight since the 1900s. And then I feel really old after that. But anyway, been in the business forever, worked at very large brokerages. Now I work at, I would say, more of a medium-sized broker with Agforce. Been with Agforce for the last 8 years. Yeah.
Great. And Jay, tell me about you and your role at Falvey.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. My name is Jay Jeannotte. I am the Vice President of our Transportation and Logistics Division here at Falvey. And I've been with Falvey for just about 10 years now. So only been slinging cargo insurance for 10 years, but it's been a good 10.
Sweet. So today we wanted to kind of go over Jason, from you, kind of hearing what Agforce does and how you use Falvey and Revenova. Jay, from you, just kind of tell us a little bit about Falvey and your role in cargo insurance and in supply chain. And then I'll kind of touch on some of the Revenova stuff too when we get to that point. But Jason, first, let's start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about Agforce, what you do there in your role and how much you guys have been slinging freight the last few years?
Yeah, absolutely. So Agforce is a domestic transportation broker. We were established in 2015, so our 10-year anniversary is in August this year. Like I said, I've been there for about a little over 8 years of those. And we specialize, we started off as very much a full truckload and intermodal broker. But as we started hiring more, we get more skill sets in, and we started doing quite a bit of LTL as well. So we're probably split 70% full truckload, 20% LTL, 10% intermodal at this point. I manage we have a wine and spirits team there because we do a lot of business in that realm, in that industry. So we have about 18 or 19 people in that team that just handle that group of customers. And then we have, another sales team, other business development teams, and we have about 70 people at this point.
So just to kind of transition the conversation a little bit for you and Jay, how do you use Falvey? Tell me about kind of the cargo insurance piece of this. How does that play into Agforce and your business?
Sure. Yeah. So, as we grew our LTL base and our customer base, basically, we're big on having these upfront conversations in terms of making sure the customer knows what they're getting, what they're paying for. And over the years, LTL carriers have continually dropped their liability coverage down to almost nothing in some instances, depending on the cargo. So we found it really a need to at least offer something besides $2 a pound or whatever they're getting. So for years we went out to market, looked for other options, looked for several options. We used several options, and I think we started with Falvey in the end of 23 maybe, and with the integration with Revenova, it's been really, really just an easy transition. But we currently use we offer additional insurance on nearly every LTL that we do, and many truckloads that are required. But if the customer doesn't provide us the total value, then like I said, we always give an upfront situation where we always tell them what their carrier liability is. So if you don't tell us this is what you're getting, if you need it, let me know. If they tell us, we always give something with an insurance quote on it. If the carrier liability does not cover. So we really rely on it. Some of our clients 100% of the time ask for it. And I looked it up preparing for this webinar, and we insure about 15% of our LTLs at this point. So it's made a big difference, I think, for just what our customers expect and what we can offer.
Cool. Jay, I mean, Jason used the integration a lot, it sounds like. So
that they do.
So what have you seen from the insurance side of like how Falvey plays a role in the supply chain industry at large and helping companies like Agforce succeed?
Mm-hmm. No, it's absolutely. So just a little background on Falvey in general. So Falvey Insurance Group, we're known as what's called a managing general agent. So look at us on the carrier side of things, but essentially we represent a host of top-rated insurance carriers. But we have the authority and ability to do everything in-house here at Falvey. So we're doing all the underwriting, we're handling the claims. It's our proprietary technology that's being utilized. And here in this transportation and logistics division of Falvey that we're in, our main target audience are freight brokers and forwarders like Agforce. And we have two different products. The one that we're talking about today is obviously our transactional all risk shipper's interest coverage. And then we do also offer that liability package for brokers and forwarders to protect themselves, whether that's contingent cargo, E&O, contingent auto liability coverages. So we kind of take a two-pronged approach there. With this shipper's interest product, and especially once you are integrated within, the Revenova platform, our goal has always been to streamline the front end and the back end, because just like Jason said, over the years, we've seen an increasing need for this per shipment coverage, where the carrier's liability just isn't going to cut it. At the end of the day, a lot of shippers still might say, well, the liability will cover whatever the value of my shipment is, but they're still not getting true insurance coverage, right? Anyone that's gone through the claims process with the carriers, they've run into denials. They've run into lengthy claims processes where things are taking a couple months. So, our value add offering to our broker partners is you have the ability to go in and secure true full value coverage on a shipment by shipment basis with the click of a button. You don't have to go to different portals or reach out for specific underwriting quotes, stuff that might take a little more time. Here's instant access to this coverage and value added peace of mind. And then in the back end, again, with claims, the goal is let's get these claims in and out the door as quickly as possible so that our broker partners and their customers don't have to worry about a lengthy claim settlement. To put it in perspective, across the whole spectrum of our shipper's interest product, last year we insured just shy of 1 million total shipments. And handled close to 10,000 claims. So we are also built to scale out. We have partners of all various sizes, but we have the ability and resources in-house here to provide that full streamlined solution and try and make things as efficient as possible so everyone can go on with their normal business operations.
Sweet. Speaking of streamlined, Jason, you mentioned the integration of Falvey and Revenova. I mean,
sure.
From your perspective, how has it worked? What's been your experience with Revenova, being able to use both, Falvey within Revenova for the last, what is it, Jay, 2-3 years now that we've been integrated partners? Mm-hmm. Jason, what's been your experience there?
Yeah, I mean, that's the key. I mean, it just makes it so easy and streamlined. I mean, when my brokers can just plug in, make sure the cargo insurance or the cargo value is in the load and hit authorize or get premium and then authorize, it takes 2 clicks and they've got it. I mean, that has been that along with just the standardized flat pricing, we can calculate it ahead of time if we're not building the load, if we're not doing all that just then, we're just getting a quote. We know it's very easy to get a price, and we know what the price is going to be. So yeah, the integration is huge. That was the biggest seller when we were talking with Falvey and being already with Revenova. I mean, it was a no-brainer. after we saw it work and this, the steps that it would save. Because like Jay mentioned, everything else is, going through another portal. Sometimes it's dynamic pricing depending on the competitor that we're talking about, and or a lot of times we had to use credit cards to pay for it and whatnot, and it's just it was very cumbersome. Lots of steps, and in our business, there's always too many steps. So if we can at least alleviate a couple of them on at least something that we're doing so much of. I mean, we've done close to 700 policies this year probably. So that's the first quarter. That's a lot of clicks when it comes down to productivity on my team.
So one last thing I wanted to get into here is really navigating cargo insurance as a whole. Really for both of you, can you kind of get into what you've seen in this segment of the industry the past year, 2 years, whatever it is, 5 years, and how cargo insurance has, just to put it broadly, changed, or gotten better, gotten worse, kind of however you guys wanted to frame it. But what have you seen the last few years in the realm of cargo insurance?
I can take the start of that, from our end in the industry and how certain things have changed. One of the things Jason already mentioned, specifically on the LTL side, that's definitely where we see the majority of the volume. You have the carriers lowering their tariff payments, so it's creating even more of a need. But in general, on that side of things, I feel like we've seen even an uptick in terms of claims being denied. So on the LTL side, it kind of makes perfect sense adding this each and every time. More on the dedicated shipments that everyone's aware of now, but the whole issue of strategic theft. And having that additional peace of mind for those occurrences. Obviously, there's been a dramatic rise in those type of claims, and that's an additional thing that we are covering still on our end. There's a lot of talk on the underwriting side of things in terms of do we exclude that? Do we offer higher rates here and there? And obviously it's a main topic of conversation, but for the time being, again, what we're doing is still offering coverage on that. So we've seen definitely an increase in demand for the per shipment cargo insurance on the dedicated side of things as well as the LTL.
I guess to prelude that, I'm not the insurance guy in the office. I've been the guy that has gone out and found these options for additional insurance. Our corporate handles our actual true insurance, but what we've seen there is extremely. It's gone. I guess what's the word here? Crazy with the theft and the fraudulent pickups. That's the huge driver right now. It's the biggest hot topic that's everybody's talking about, the thefts. What are we going to do about it? But how we use this, it's partially for that. It's not all for that though. It's mostly just when we're a gap. It's not gap insurance. I get that, but it's when the carrier doesn't offer enough is when we're generally using it. But from a broad perspective, my thoughts on insurance is that over the years, carriers we talked about it already, carriers keep lowering their liability insurance. And again, I've been doing this forever. And as long as I can remember, the standard insurance for a full truckload is $100,000. And that's just, in my opinion, it's just not enough anymore. I think the standard needs to be raised, to where that carriers are generally going to be insuring themselves for more. But I also understand that there's a lot of headwinds because to do that, so everything's expensive.
And I think from our point of view, with that, like you're saying, still the majority of the full truckload, the dedicated shipments that we see insured is above that $100,000 threshold. But obviously that's kind of happening more and more now too, just as the value of goods increase, right? But with that, this is also, because that's going to happen, adding this product in is also something that can be helpful in terms of capacity, so
Yep.
okay, I don't have to go out and source a carrier that's actually going to have 250 or maybe 500. I know that I can just click this button, add full value insurance, and we're still covered. It meets our customer requirements, and we're good to book this load.
That's exactly how we use it. I mean, anytime we see something over our insured contracts, if we don't use it, we offer it, and if they don't take it, then we have it in writing, basically. So just make sure that all that's, like I said, we like to really set the right expectations for clients up front.
So on that note, perfect transition. How do your clients and customers respond when you bring up insurance with them and how it works with Agforce?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing, honestly, because it raises a lot of questions and it creates good conversations. I mean, if you truly want to have a consultative type sell and a conversation with the client, if they don't understand it, they'll ask. And it's exposed, well, they say, well, that's not how somebody else does it. Well, have you asked what you're getting, what the liability coverage is on that? Or, maybe everything you're sending out is underinsured or undercovered and you don't even know it, So I think it exposes some things and then, but it creates a great conversation. And if, again, a lot of people will say, don't ever offer it to me. I'm good with this, or we're self-insured or whatever. And that's great. As long as I'd rather have this conversation now instead of, you telling me after the fact and the entire product got lost and we're looking at a, $30,000 pallet, like, let's talk about this ahead of time. So I would just much rather prefer having that conversation ahead of time instead of it being at the end and very awkward and, okay, how are we going to work through this? We didn't talk about it, because then whose fault is it? Should I have offered it? Should you have told me? It gets to be one of those conversations that I think, again, it's just very, it sets the right expectations. And again, we're in brokerage. It's always, sometimes you're always looking for a reason to have a conversation with a client. It's not just, hey, do you have any freight for me today? We want to have a meaningful conversation. Something like this is a meaningful conversation because it tells them that you care, that you know what you're doing, that you're not just, trying to get the easy buck or the next load. I mean, you're looking after their freight for them.
And I would, with that, and we've seen it happen so many times, like you're saying, I think that it's so important, to review the insurance needs of the customer base, because obviously the last thing anyone wants is for this then to come up in the event of a claim and, they're not getting paid what they thought they were going to be paid, right? And we see that happen far too often. A lot of times that can be a driver of some of the volume we see. And all it takes for one shipper is to have one bad claim experience, and then they're going to start insuring every single load, right? And so, from an insurance company perspective on our end, with all of our broker partners, we do also have all these resources that can assist in that more consultative approach, whether it's the front end or, like I said, our claims team. We have a great in-house loss prevention team that can advise shippers on packaging, carrier selection. We can review contracts for brokers, everything like that. So we try to go above and beyond. It's a true partnership to us. We want to make sure that you succeed, that your customers succeed. We're not just a piece of paper type of thing. So it is that consultative approach that we like to take. And like you said, it's a simple, streamlined solution across the board. But, we're also flexible for individual customer specific needs as well. So just another resource, I think, that can be a value add.
Sweet. Jason, one last thing for you. And before we started recording, we were talking about customizations and configurability that you and your team have been able to do with Revenova as your TMS. Are there any customizations or configurability that you had to do around Falvey and around this integration, or are those configurations elsewhere in your TMS?
This was already done when we onboarded, so it was literally just a plug and play for us. We had to make it, viewable to the users we wanted for it to be viewable to. So no, there was zero customization here. But to your point, Revenova, we've done several customizations up to now, not including the Falvey portion. And yeah, I can't speak to it necessarily because I wasn't involved in all of those or much of those, but I know that it's been a very customizable product for us. Not everything, like we talked about, is off the shelf. It's definitely off the shelf usable and great. It's just, there's every brokerage has their own little niche and their own little thing and I think we have maybe even more than most. It seems like we want it to be perfect all the time, right? Who doesn't? But, we've found that Falvey, I keep saying Falvey. We found that Revenova has been very helpful when we do need those customizations, for sure.
Cool. That's really the questions that I had for both of you guys today. Is there anything else Jason, anything else you want to add about cargo insurance? Jay, anything else you want to add?
I want to mention something just because I hadn't mentioned it yet, but when I reached out and got feedback from my team of users that use this on a regular basis, I specifically wanted feedback from my LTL, like claims rep person that does all of our claims, and I'm pointing out LTL a lot, primarily because that's the most of what we use it for, but and I don't think we've had a full truckload claim yet. So it's really our claims experience is only on LTL, and just the ease of, it's what Jay mentioned in terms of, it's generally a very fast turnaround. I don't think we've even mentioned this yet, but like the deductibles, there is no deductible if it's a $10,000 policy or below. That is huge for us because that's another conversation with a customer, right? Like you get a $25,000 policy and there's a $500 deductible. Well, did we tell them? No. Yes. If you buy insurance, everything has a deductible, right? So it's like they should expect it, but it's another conversation we need to have of, hey, here's a claim, or here's an insurance quote with $500 deductible. We have to have those kind of discussions because there is just it's something that everybody needs to know. Knock on wood. We've had such a small needs for working with the claims department. We don't do too many claims with this insurance. So it's been very good. So
awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that feedback, Jason. And I will say just, in general, that really is one of our biggest focuses here is that whole claims component. We're continuously expanding with our staff and our resources to make sure that we're constantly able to deliver on the expectations that we're setting up front. So, like I said, on our end, our goal for all these claims is 30 days or less. And it's somewhere between 75 and 30% of the claims that are paid within that window. And that's actually from the original first notice of loss, which most of the time does not even include all of the supporting documentation needed. So, like I said, our claim staff is a great resource here too with our broker partners, and we'll consistently also set up review calls with our partners when needed. Let's walk through any outstanding claims or just in general, are we meeting expectations? What can we do better? What maybe should we be expecting X, Y, and Z up front, which will help us, pay out these claims even quicker. So, that is one of the main focuses that we have over here at Falvey. And we're, like I said, continuously looking to, expand on that offering and make sure that we deliver for our broker partners.